In this video, I'm going to be talking about dictionaries. So, what is a dictionary? It's just another type of data structure. And if you don't know what a data structure is, it's simply something that holds data. For example, a list is a data structure because you can put values inside of it, and it stores that for you. And you can access it in some type of way using indices. But dictionaries are a little bit different than lists. By now, hopefully you know what a list is if you're learning about dictionaries. But a dictionary has something called a key and a value. So, let's say you have a key with named key, let's change the name because that's gonna be confusing. Let's use food. All right, so the key is food, and the value here is a hamburger. All right, and we put a comma, and we write down. Let's say color. All right, and this color is red. And let's say one more key. Let's put one more key. Let's say table, wooden. All right, so this right here is an example of a dictionary with keys and values. So the key is on the left side of the colon and the values on the right side. And you separate each key value pair with a comma. Now, here's the thing about these keys values. They are very, quick access at a low level. They make it easy for you to get values very quickly, basically. Now, let's say you write down dictionary. Right? And instead of putting an index like 0, like a list, you put down a key. And that key is associated with the value on the right side. So if you want to access the value, just simply write down dictionary and then in brackets the key. Now, the difference between a dictionary and a list is that if you write the index, you're going to get an error. Because there is technically no index. I guess this key value pair is the first index of the dictionary, but there's no way to really access that in a way. So you can write down food instead. So if you write down dictionary food, it simply prints out the value associated with the key, right? And you can actually manipulate this. So if you say dictionary food is equal to say another food, let's say another food, fish. All right. So if I were to print out dictionary food again after changing the value, I would get fish because I changed the value of the key food to fish here. And I think a better way to show you this is if I print out the entire dictionary. So if I print out the entire dictionary, oops, what happened? If I print out the entire dictionary, you can notice that the key food associated with the value hamburger is side by side, keys on the left, values on the right. And the next key value pair is separated by a comma with the color red. And the next is table wooden. Now, if we change the key food to fish and we print out the dictionary after that, then we'll notice that, and I can maybe remove this to make it easier to understand, we can notice that the food key stays the same, right? And treat the key sort of like an index. And the hamburger turned to a fish because we turned the value of the key food to fish. So I've been using food the entire time as the key. You can use any other key you want. You can use table. All right. And if I want to print out, let's print out table afterward. Actually, let's print the dictionary before and after. Print dictionary. All right. We can turn the table to fish, which makes no sense. But right here, the table and the key associated with it is table and wooden before, which is the first print. And then we just turn the key, or the value associated with the key table, to fish. And as you can tell, wooden turned to fish. If you simply want to print out the value with table, you can just write down print and dictionary table right after it. And you will print out wooden. So if you want to change any value, if you want to print any value, if you want to do anything with any value, you can use dictionary and the key associated with it. Now the thing about these keys and values is they're not only limited to strings, they also can use integers and floats. So let's say 1.15 is associated with the value 8. All right. So if we want to access the number 8, 0.15 is the key. So we simply write down 0.15. Inside the brackets, we can print out 8. And same thing, we can change the value if you want. You can simply set this equal to 9, right? And then if we print out a dictionary again, the value 8 associated with the key 0.15 turns to 9, right? So these things aren't only, these keys and values aren't only limited to strings. You can set them as floats and integers as well. Keep that in mind. Now, how do you actually access the key? I've been only talking about how you can do things with the values. How do you access the key? Well, there's something called dictionary methods, right? There's a bunch of methods that are very helpful, but eventually I will get to that, of course, in this video. I'm just mentioning it right now so you guys know what I'm going to talk about. But the first thing I would like to mention is dictionary.clear, the simplest one, right? So we print out the dictionary after clearing it. Print dictionary before clearing it, and then print out dictionary after clearing it. You realize that the dictionary now just becomes empty. Okay, so dictionary clear simply clears your dictionary. Another method that you can use is dictionary.copy. So if you write down dictionary.copy and you write down a variable called new dict, and you set the dictionary.copy equal to new dict, if you were to print out new dict, then you just get a copy, right? So the copy is determined by the variable of the dictionary you put in front. So when you create a dictionary, you likely would set it equal to a variable, and that variable name is what you would just put in front of .copy, and you would set this little method right here equal to a new variable so that you can copy it. Okay, and you can do whatever you want with that new variable, simply just a copy. Nothing happens to the previous dictionary if you do something with new dict. Now, this new method requires a list. So let's write down list example. Let's create a list of school. Let's use double quotes for consistency. Let's put school. Let's put proton. And let's put, I don't know, some integer 42. All right, and let's create a new dict and set this new dict equal to dict.FromKeys. And let's say FromKeys has the input of list ex. And let's not put a argument there yet, but let's print out the new dict. Now you might be wondering what this little guy is. If you were to just print out, so let's comment this out, what dict is, you just put dict here. There's no variable called dict, right? How am I using this? Well, if I were to print out dict, dict is simply just the class dict, okay? Now, you don't have to know what that is, but for now, you can just sort of think of it as a default dictionary with no keys and values inside of it yet. So, right here, we print out a new dictionary, right? This new dictionary, new dict, is created from dict.FromKeys list ex. What is this? Well, we realize that all the keys of this new dictionary are the same as the values in the list we inputted into FromKeys. So what does dict.FromKeys do? It returns a dictionary, a new dictionary, where all the keys are the values of the iterable you put into it. And the default values associated with these keys are none. So the new dictionary has keys based on the things or the data types or this whatever you put into this list, okay? And the default values are none inside this new dictionary. Now, here's the thing. You can actually change the default values from none to something you want. So let's say you put hello. All right, hello can be a default value, right? School, hello, proton, hello, 42, hello, right? So all the new default values are hello. You can set it to hi. And you can really just set it to whatever you want. But by default, if you don't put in any argument here, you simply write down none as the default value. Now, if this dict is confusing to you, you could simply just create a new dictionary and just set it equal to some empty dictionary, right? And you can write down new dict here, and it'll do the same thing. You'll get the same result. You could just kind of think of dict as just an empty dictionary with no keys or values inside of it. But if you're confused about that, right, of course, since you guys haven't learned object-oriented programming, you would be maybe a little confused. But if you're confused about that, you could just simply make a new dictionary that's just completely empty and put it in front of .FromKeys. The next method is dictionary.get. And dictionary.get simply allows you to print out or do anything with the value associated with the key you put into here. So technically, this kind of does the same thing as dictionary dot dictionary with brackets food, right? They'll print out the same thing, but the difference is that dictionary dot get, you can't really change the value at the key food. With dictionary brackets food, you can set this equal to fish, right? But with dictionary dot get, you can't set it equal to fish. Okay. Right, it simply doesn't change the dictionary. You'll get an error. Okay, so this right here, dictionary bracket food, allows you to print out or to change the value at the key food, but dictionary.get doesn't allow that. It simply just allows you to do something with the value, right? It just returns the value associated with this key. Now, the reason why people use .get is because it's a little safer. So let's say you had dictionary.get hello. If you write down dictionary.get hello, well, nothing happens, right? You just simply get none. And the reason why you get none is because there is no key hello, right? There's simply just no key hello here. There's no value associated with it. But if you put down dictionary in brackets hello, you'll get an error. So dictionary.get is just a little bit safer, especially if you don't know how, especially if you have a huge dictionary and you don't know if there's a key, right? If you don't know there's a certain key and you don't want an error in the middle of your program, you can write down dictionary.get, write down the key that you think might be there. If it's not there, nothing happens, right? You just print out none. But if you use dictionary brackets hello, okay, you'll get an error if that key isn't there. The next method is a method called dictionary.items. And dictionary.items can be set equal to some variable. So let's say this variable was let's call it new guy. All right. So new guy is equal to dictionary.items. If I were to print out new guy, you would see some weird looking thing where it's just the original dictionary. Now, the reason why dictionary.items is useful is because if you want to make a for loop and you want to say access both the keys and the values at the same time, okay, you can write down key comma value in dictionary.items, all right, and print out key and the value. Then you'd be able to access them both at the same time. Before, you can only access just the keys or just the values. Well, so far I've only talked about accessing the values, but normally you can only access the keys and the values separately. But with dictionary.items, this allows you to access both at the same time. So you can set two variables, key and value, in dictionary.items, which is some new data structure, and you can access both the keys and the values at the same time. Now you might be wondering, why can't I just put down for key value in dictionary print key and value? Well, the thing about that is that, okay, let's go ahead and comment this out. Well, the thing about this is that you're going to get an error. And the reason why is because keys and the values in a normal dictionary for some reason can't be accessed by just the previous variable. So you have to write down dictionary.items in order to access both the keys and the values at the same time. So you can run them in a for loop, or so you can do whatever you want with them. Now, you can also just write down new guys here. So new guys is equal to dictionary.items. I can simply write down new guy. It does the same thing. Okay? The next two methods here are quite self-explanatory. Dictionary.keys gives you all the keys in the dictionary, right? And dictionary.values gives you all the dictionaries. All the values in the dictionary. So right here, if we want to print out keys and we want to print out values, you simply get a little weird structure that you see here that consists of all the keys, right? All the keys are food, color, table, and 0.15 of our dictionary. And all the values are hamburger, red, wooded, and ate. Now, if you want this in a legible way where you can actually access these values, you can actually just typecast or access everything inside of these two little weird structures. You can just turn both of these guys into lists. And if I were to print them out, you would get them in the list form. And now this new list form, you can write down some index to get it. So if I want to print out, let's say, index 0 of your key, food, I would just print out food, right? So list keys is a list that looks like this. And if I want to print out food, I can write down just the little brackets after and write down 0. If I want to print out, I don't know, maybe 0.15 and at index 3, I could just simply print out 0.15. The next method is dictionary.pop. Dictionary.pop, and you can write down .pop key. So let's pop the table. So if I were to print out the dictionary before, so print dictionary before the pop, and after the pop, it simply removes the key and the value for table. So table wooden is gone in this new dictionary after popping. Another thing about pop is that, let's say you want to save the removed value, right? So you can actually set dictionary.pop equal to removed value. And if I were to print out removed value, the removed value is the same as your value associated with the key table, which is what we removed. So dictionary.pop, you don't have to set it equal to some variable, right? All it does is pop the key and the value, or just remove the key and value from the dictionary that you wrote down in the input of pop. But if you want to save, let's say, the removed value, you can just make a new variable, set it equal to dictionary.pop, right, and do whatever you want with it. In this case, I printed it. In this case, the removed value was wooden, right? Wooden's associated with table. So basically, dictionary.pop returns the value that you removed associated with the key that you put into the input. Another very similar method is dictionary.PopItem. And this one right here is a little more simple. You don't have to put any inputs into this guy. All it does is just remove the last key and value pair called the item. So I haven't mentioned this in this video yet, but now that I've gotten to the part where I can, a key and value pair altogether is simply called an item. Okay, so key and value pair is together is called an item. If you write down .PopItem, all it does is remove the very last key and value pair of your list. Okay, of your dictionary. Sorry, not of your list. What am I saying? Now, the last little method that I would like to talk about is one that's quite useful. So let's say that we have an extended dictionary, and set this extended dictionary equal to, let's say, city, and the city is Florida. I know Florida is not a city. It's just the first thing I thought of. Let's say country, China, and last key value pair. Let's say greeting. All right, and this greeting, simplest greeting, hi. Okay, if you want to print out the dictionary, you can simply write down print dictionary, correct? Right, this is the original dictionary. We printed it out. It looks like this. If you want to print out extended dictionary, we can write down print extended dictionary. Right, and all this does is print out extended dictionary. Well, here's the thing. If we write down dictionary dot update with the input of another dictionary, you actually add the extended dictionary onto the previous dictionary. So dictionary.update, and now we have a new dictionary after we update it with the key value pairs of our extended dictionary. So .update allows you to combine two dictionaries together to get one. And I could have just done this the other way around, extended dictionary with dictionary here as the input for update. And what this would do is add dictionary onto the extended dictionary. Right. And the previous one, right, it starts off with city, country, greeting. The other one started off with the values of the old dictionary. So what update does is simply add the input dictionary onto the dictionary that you put in front of the .update. Okay, they just combine them to those two together. But that's all for dictionaries. If you have any questions, put it down in the comment section. And if you found this video helpful, consider subscribing and liking the video. Thanks for watching.